Okay, in this video we're going to be checking out the iH3 Pro from iFlight RC. This is sort of a more evolved version of their bind and fly for, I guess, quote-unquote long range, 3-inch here. I probably remember from a while back I did a custom build on this frame. This is the iH3 frame. If you want to see that video, I'll put a card in the corner to check that if you want to check that out. This is my custom build. It's pretty similar to this ready to fly version here, but this one here comes with an R9 mini receiver, so you have this interesting antenna in the front here. It's for 900 megahertz R9 system. You have some Tachyon motors here. These are the 1108 5000 kV, so you're able to fly this on this 3-inch Avant prop on 4S. I did fly the 6000 kV version on a different 3-inch micro on 3S, so there's a different video for that if you want to check that one out. But this ready to fly here, and it's pretty interesting the way they set this up here. You know, obviously you got the RunCam split mini. It's the version 1 with the 2 boards right here in the front, and then they put the flight controller on basically hanging from the top plate here with these countersunk screws here, these M3 countersunk screws, and so it's nice and still flat for the battery. And then you have your 4-in-1 EC. It's a B.Polaris 20 amp 4-in-1 EC, and then you have your video transmitter board there. It is power switchable via IRC tramp. It's 25 to 200 milliwatts, and then it comes with attached for this Fox here Lollipop 2 antenna there. You have an XD30 back here, and you have 2 giant capacitors, and that is mainly for filtering the video noise from the split mini, and I think it does an okay job. I think out of most of the setups I've seen for the split mini, the video noise wasn't too bad with the filtering from these capacitors back here. So it's interesting that as this frame has evolved and they've come up with like other editions of the bind and fly with different motors, like I think 1106 6000 kV. I think they have another one with the 1108 motors on without the long range system, just an XM Plus receiver. So they have various different setups for this out there for people that want to fly this frame, get HD video on a 3-inch setup, and no props in the view, by the way, on this frame. And yeah, it's really interesting. Now, they do market this as a long-range HD aerial recording platform here, but you're kind of limited by your power output on your video transmitter because it's still 5.8 gigahertz FPV, and so the R9 system could probably go 7 to 8 miles easy on 500 milliwatts or even a 1 watt if you have the full R9 module. So your control range isn't really their limiting factor. It's going to be your FPV video range, which on 5.8 gigahertz, 200 milliwatts max. This setup, your video range is probably at the most about 2 to 3 miles, depending upon what your receiver setup is and how your ground station setup and all that. So that's probably what they're talking about here in terms of long range. Of course, people that are actually long range experts know that 2-3 miles is like nothing. There's probably guys out there that are doing real long range, are doing 10-15 miles, but for something like this, your range is limited by your video and your battery, so that's another limiting factor. I used a 4S GMD 550 for the flights that I tested this out on because I wanted to keep this under the 250 gram weight limit, so that's another reason why this is of interest to a lot of people that wanted to get HD video on something that doesn't require registration. And so just to show you how much this thing weighs. This is without the battery, 151 grams, and then with the 4S 550 we're coming at 222, so well under the limit. So this setup here is still considered a toy, not a drone, so there's no registration required. If you're interested in getting high quality HD video, pretty good range, limited by your battery, of course, and your video transmitter. The most you're going to be able to get out of this battery, I would think, if you're just cruising around, maybe 3.5 minutes, 4 minutes on this setup here with these motors and everything. Obviously, I did a video on this guy. You probably, if you guys missed that video, I flew this around. Obviously, it's going to be more than 250 grams. I flew it on an 850 4S lipo for 12 minutes on this setup. So Obviously you can go much further in 12 minutes you can, and say on this setup here 3.5 minutes. So that's kind of what you're limited by. Obviously you can go to a much bigger battery. I have these batteries that iFlight sent me, 750 milliamp hour 4S lipos. You can test these out on, I'm going to probably test it out on this one here. Then you're going to go over the 250 gram weight limit here. We're just over at 253, but you're going to get more flight time from a 750 versus a 550. Of course, you can go even bigger if you want to put on an 850 or even a 1000 milliamp hour 4S and extend your flight time even more. This should be able to even, it's got enough power, it should be able to handle 1000 milliamp hour 4S if you want really long flight times and want to go a little bit further. So in terms of a bind-and-fly here, well, this setup here comes as, you can buy it as a combo, so you can buy it just as the bind-and-fly with the receiver built here, all ready to go, and then you can add on, I think you can add on the receiver, so you can buy it with plug and play, or you can add on the receiver, the R9 receiver, that then would become a bind-and-fly, so that's one option, and then you can add on the X-Lite transmitter with the R9 mini transmitter on the back. I think that's the little module that goes on the back of there. So there's different combinations you can select to build up your package. So if you already have an X-Lite transmitter, then obviously you don't need to add that on. So they broke it down. I think this originally came as a complete setup with the transmitter and everything. So they broke it down into the different pieces. You can select the pieces that you need and deselect the ones you don't need. So they've added that flexibility in the buying process to make this a little bit easier to get. And I think that's a good thing that they did that. In terms of the setup and everything here, already came pre-flashed via Flight 350. Came with a tune. Everything was set up. I didn't have to touch anything. No PIDs. Didn't have to change any of the UARTs. It came with all the UARTs properly set up for the receiver. And they even set up a soft serial for telemetry coming back from the R9 mini receivers. So all of that set up there for you. Even the RSC trump to the video transmitter. Didn't have to touch anything. The only thing I had to do was I changed my rates and I checked my modes, make sure the channel mapping was correct for my radio. I believe it was originally set to TAER and I switched it to AETR, which was what my radios are set to. So, basic setup stuff there. You should always check, make sure everything is set up to work with your radio and your setup. But beyond that, in terms of tuning and other things that you need to set up here, didn't have to do anything. Just put the props on, charged up the battery, and obviously the things I mentioned before. I moved some stuff around the OSD and stuff like that. This stuff I usually do, and went and go and flew it, and it flew great out of the box. The tune was really good. Yeah, there's not really a whole lot to talk about in terms of like setup. I think it's they did a great job. In terms of this something you want to buy and just go and fly and get some good video, this is definitely one you want to check out. Now, one of the things I think that they could have added on here is perhaps the GPS for return to home, which I think I might do right here. Might be a good place to put a little GPS right here in front of the battery and behind the camera. There is one available UART, I think UART 3, that's not being used. I think I'll set up for a future video, and then I will be able to test some longer range. I didn't really get to test the long range capabilities. I think a lot of people already know what the long range capabilities of the R9 are. It's fairly reliable if you're setting it up correctly. I'm still trying to find out what firmware version they have on the receiver here. I wanted to make sure that was the newest version, and if not, I'm going to go ahead and update it. Probably should update it anyway, but I just wanted to check, see what they put on there, and maybe I'll add that to the description down below if you guys are interested in knowing what that is. Hoping that they are flashing the newest versions on the receivers, which is what FrSky recommends. And yeah, so for later on, I think I'll add a GPS and I'll test some long range. And if I have any issues, obviously fail safe, then the GPS return to home will bring it back to me, so I don't actually lose it somewhere, which I wouldn't want that to happen. So yeah, I'll have another video at some point in the future with perhaps GPS added to this. If you have any questions about this, let me know in the comments below, and I'll go ahead and I'll show you the flight demo now.